So I just want to stand in the truth of you being here and hearing this and witnessing it. Because the power in this process is just that. Standing in the truth of who you are, seeing yourself, and just really being yourself. It's such a thing of beauty that we've been given, that ability to witness each other. And before I even go anywhere with this, I'd really like the house lights to come up just a little bit, and I'd like you to turn to the person next to you or make eye contact with someone. House lights up just a little bit. Look at someone and just say, go ahead, not me. I can only look at one of you. Look at someone, just like really look at them, even if you don't know them, and just say to them, go ahead, ladies. I see you. I know you. I know who you are. And I welcome you to bring your whole heart forward. You are beautiful. Thank you for showing up. Give me 5. Woo! You know, dare you have the courage to be who you really are? That's my question to you, and that really should just be the question for yourself and your business. Dare you have the courage to be who you really are? Because when you do that, there's this amazing magical process that I'm going to call alchemy. Alchemy is trading in your lead, your old belief systems about who you are in the world, and being able to step into who you really are, which is gold. You are as good as gold. You are. That's your golden state. And Suzanne helped me come up with that platform of your golden state soul portrait. That's what we really want, is we just want to know that we are perfect and whole right here, right now, that we are as good as gold. It is the new paradigm, the new economic system, the new gold standard is you being you. And I'm going to show you how by me being me and showing it in the world as that I cashed in on this amazing wealth of love. We talk about woundedness. And I want to tell you that the place that I began as a photographer was with self-portrait nudes. I'm sorry if it's uncomfortable for you. Maybe that's a good thing. So this is one of my self-portrait nudes, and I was so wounded. Jeffrey talks about the wounds and the wounds informing who you are in the world. And I was wounded in 2 ways. One, not being seen for who I was. And 2, not allowing myself to just be who I was. Can anybody relate to that? God, see? This is it. So these self-portraits that I started in high school were nude, they were raw, they were black and white, they were my lead. I suffered from an eating disorder. I had major depression. I was hospitalized for 2 years from my depression in New York City. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And the thing that has plagued me the most, that has kept me from coming out in the world, is my depression. That tells me to stay in hiding because it's too scary. I'm too vulnerable. So if you have that visceral feeling inside of you of fear and sick to your stomach, heart pounding, when you think of these exercises that we've been doing, I get it. But I'm going to venture to guess that you've been hiding it really well, that you've developed some kind of brilliant competency, and mine was, I can't see myself as beautiful, so I'm going to see everybody in the world as beautiful. So I got a job as a fashion photographer. You know, and I captured the beauty in everybody else. I wanted to see it. I wanted it to be tangible. I wanted to feel good in my skin, and I knew that like showing my nude butt to the world wasn't going to be making a living, really. I wasn't going to make a living at it. And so instead of turning inward, I turned outward. So there was like inward darkness and ugliness, but out there I could make it look beautiful, right? I could capture this beauty and make a really good living at it. It only lasted so long, though, because I kept wanting to go deeper and deeper. I'm a Sufi, and my name, Siddiqi, means the teller of truth, or the friend that tells the truth. Or at the moment of initiation, when the man that had that initial quote, "Dare you have the courage to be who you really are," Pir Vilayat initiated me as a Sufi, which is a whole other story. He looked into my eyes and he said, "The friend that righteously upholds the truth." That name has been the bane of my existence because I'm just a liar. You know, and it's like a drop of ink in water. If you're a liar in one area of your life, you're just a liar. And if you're lying to yourself about how brilliant you are, you're a liar too. And that's what I was. I was hiding out in this lie of competency in the outer world. I've got to make a living. I've got to be like this famous photographer, blah, blah, blah. And every once in a while, someone would ask me to do a portrait because they needed it, but they didn't want it. They needed it, but they didn't want it. That's not my market today. My market is people that are so afraid of being seen, but that desperately want it. You so want to see who you really are, but you hate having your picture taken, and you tell me that you don't take good pictures, which I say, well, that's good, because I'm the one holding the camera. So you don't have to worry about taking the picture. You know, when I started with these portraits, these are about 10 years old. And I started to see deeper into people. So I'd give them the picture that they wanted, which is, woo, here's me smiling in the world. And then I'd give them the picture where I really saw something in them. And I started noticing it. Like it's this process, like click, 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 around the 13th to the 20th frame of every portrait, I really got to something. Like the person really dropped in. And people said, you take soulful portraits. Yeah, this is about 10 years ago. And then I had a really scary experience. I got hit by a van. And I had a life after death experience. This is where it gets like full on woo-woo. Full on. And I was so depressed at the time, and I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to be here anymore because it just didn't mean anything to me. So I had this experience of meeting with my guides that is now, I now know they are called the Council of Beings. So when I channel, that's who I'm channeling, is this Council of Beings that I actually met with. And we did this whole life review. And I should just tell you that it's going to be a whole chapter in my book. But what I learned was we went through every moment of my life. And they said, do you see how it wasn't good and it wasn't bad? It was just what you chose. And in every moment, even in my blackout drunks when I was getting raped, I saw how it was on some level what I chose. And then they always followed every moment of my life with this question, do you see how you chose well? And in every moment, I totally got that I had chosen well. Everything, the incest, the alcoholism, the depression, all of it, I saw how I had chosen well because I got the like huge picture of that wound. Like the gift of it was that wound, like just seeing the wound and seeing how beautiful and exquisite my wound had been. And then they said, you don't have to go back. But if you choose to, we want to show you something. And I saw from this bird's eye view this beautiful older woman, and she was photographing at this event. And everybody she photographed lit up like a firefly, like their souls were ignited. And she was amazing. And I saw what a huge difference she was making in these people's lives. And then we got closer and closer. And mind you, at the time, I have no money. Food stamps, food shelf. There's lots of nitty-gritty details in here. But I saw like how rich and abundant she was. And how like the world needed that gift. And they said, this is you. This is one of millions of possibilities. And I said, how do I get there? And they said, hundreds, thousands, millions of yeses. Of you showing up and saying yes. And they asked me in that moment, was there one thing that I wanted that would compel me to go back? And I said, if you would remove from my body, from every cell in my being, the need to kill myself, because I had had 2 attempted suicides. If you would take that from me, I think I could go back and at least work on living that out. And they said, you're sure? And I said, I'm sure. And it was like all the cells in my body exploded with light, and I was back in my body laying on the ground where the van had hit me on my bike. And in that moment, I knew that I would never, ever be the same again. And I knew that I had to do the one thing that was in my heart to do, which was get on a plane and go to India. It was the one thing in my life I had always wanted to do. I had no idea what I was going to do there. You'll have to read my book that will be coming out in the next 2 years to find out all the details of India, but suffice it to say, I ended up living with Tibetan Buddhist nuns and documenting them for a year and learning from them how to transpose suffering into purpose, into a gift to the world by just praying and just being. And I kept having these visions of photographing the Dalai Lama, and I thought, that's impossible. Nothing is impossible when you take the next right step into yes. Nothing. It's a whole other chapter in my book. And I photographed him 8 different times now on 3 different continents. And I became a photojournalist because I wanted to tell the truth with my images. There's me when I first met him in 1990, and then there's me 2 years ago. Notice the difference in hair. It's much cuter now. Then I got invited to go to South Africa and photograph for the United Nations, the parliaments of the world's religions. I met Nelson Mandela. I met Desmond Tutu. I met the Dalai Lama again. Amazing. And I got to witness the pain and suffering in others. All these kids had AIDS as a result of being raped. And I got to just be there and see into the soul of the world. That my suffering was not just my suffering, that every single person has a deep and profound suffering, and that what people really want, what we really all want, is to be seen. We want to be witnessed. We want to be held in a container of unconditional love and really be seen. Do you agree? It's the most healing thing. And as I'm photographing these world spiritual leaders, I realize that I am being seen and it is healing me. Then I did a little stint in Hawaii with the Navy SEALs, blah, blah, blah. They're not so into the soul stuff, but it was a great adventure. You know, soul portraits underwater. No, I'm not there yet. You know, we all have an opportunity to let go of our past. I had a room full of negatives that I'd been carrying with me from New York to Minnesota, blah, blah, blah. And I realized that to get to the next phase of where I needed to go, that I couldn't carry the negatives with me anymore. I couldn't carry the lead. And I had to cash it in because I really wanted to become this world traveler. So what did I do? I burned 20 years of negatives. I kept some essential things, but I burned it. Took 3 weeks for the pile to burn. If you want to fly, if you want to become a phoenix that transforms, you have to walk into the fire of discomfort. I am not going to lie to you. It is not comfortable, this transition from lead to gold. It's not, but it's magical and it's transformative. And when you walk into the fire, whatever that means for you, but I'll translate it as, it means looking at the pieces of yourself that you've used as masks in the world. It means dropping the old lens and the old way of being. Because when you walk into the fire, you can't keep who you used to be. You can't hide. You just have to walk in and dive in to the fire. You don't get a little burned. You get annihilated. Yeah. Don't show up in front of my lens unless you're ready for that. Here's a before headshot of my friend Stephanie, professional organizer. And then here's her soul portrait. What you tap into when you tap in to who you're really meant to be in the world is you tap into the DNA of your soul. When you bring your gift into the world, you are saying yes. You evolving spiritually, your soul out in the world, speaking your truth with an open heart. There's a huge difference, and I just want to show you that. Here's someone, it has nothing to do with how you look. Isn't she gorgeous? Yeah, she's gorgeous. She hated having her picture taken. She was so nervous. She hated it. And this is what I came up with, my first round of soul portraits. I'm also going to have a little disclaimer. Results may vary. Results may vary depending on your willingness and your readiness and your ability to show up and be seen. Because sometimes what people see in their soul portraits is the lead. The mask. And they get all pissed off at me because they thought they were going to get some spiritual glamour shot. And then it doesn't look right, and I get an angry email. And so now I have like a 2-page disclaimer and a video. She came back a second time, and I got these. Here's the difference. She brought her dog. She brought something that opened her heart. She brought that mirror of unconditional love that an animal is. And that's what she needed for her soul portrait to feel comfortable and safe. Speaking of, here's my dog. She's not very comfortable in the fashion outfit, but there's her soul portrait. I was talking to someone earlier that does this. Say, are you here? She had a sick dog, so she might not be able to make it. Okay, but animals. So then I started working for Mayo Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, the #2 healthcare organization in the world, as their top editorial photographer. And I got to meet really amazing people like Danny Abraham. He started Slim Fast. So he's one of the top Forbes 500 richest people in the world. He's worth like $45 billion or something ridiculous like that. And here's his before. Here's one of his pictures. But then it took me till the next day to get this, which then ended up on the cover of his book. And isn't it true everything is possible? It really is. So then Jeffrey and Suzanne and I started working together, and they introduced me to Christiane Holbrook, who is in the Diamond Club book. Do you see the difference? Who do you want to work with, her or her? So here's the thing, 500 million blogs. Research says that you have a 20th of a second, that within a 20th of a second, the synapses of your brains fire, and you have sized someone up on a visceral, emotional level, and you have decided whether or not you want to work with them. So who do you want to be in the world? Do you want to be this? Or do you want to open up to your divine market and show them who you really are? Because that's what this process is about. Here's Dr. Ravi Rao. He's also in the book. He has a great story. He's the one that has the spiritual Sherpa quote about Jeffrey and Suzanne. Here's his soul portrait. I have his permission to tell you this. He hates it. He hates it. You know, the thing is if you're used to seeing yourself one way, when you really get asked to see yourself another way, it might feel so foreign and uncomfortable to you that you don't even like it. And everybody else in this room, how many agree this is a gorgeous picture? Yeah? It's amazing. He's a visionary. And I stand behind the soul portrait. You may not like always the outcome, but I stand behind the process that was given to me as transformative. Jeffrey, amazing, competent headshot. Love it. He shows up. You kind of see that same smile, right? Like he shows up even with his filters and his masks. But then he said, you need to do the reading. This is what we were talking about earlier. And he starts dropping in, and then there he is, boom. Do you see the difference? Yeah, it's huge. So this is a year ago when the reading, my stepping out and saying, okay, I'm a woo out there psychic, and I can see your soul, and I'm going to start showing you a picture of that by describing it to you as a visualization. And when you hear it, there's this visceral connection in your body, like you feel it. I can see it in the person. Their face changes. And you know, it just evolves because look at how more dropped in he is this year than he was a year ago. Look at how much more brilliant he is. So what was gold at first now becomes lead, because when you see that soul portrait, you have to see where you're not aligned with that. Where am I not aligned with that golden vision of who I am in my life? So it becomes this amazing, exquisite tool for discernment. I love this one. Woohoo! Suzanne. Before and after, a year ago. But wait. I just did this one a couple weeks ago. Look. Isn't that amazing, the transformation? So Suzanne and I have been working in a co-coaching relationship about this golden state. And look at the difference that she has made in a year in her life. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, you can see it. Here's the two of them. On the left is last year, on the right is this year. Like they're just so much more dropped in and their relationship has changed. You can see it in their body language even, right? Like they've really clearly defined who they are and they're now articulating it visually. So then I went to Australia to fall in love with myself, and Cameron came to me. This is his before picture on the left, and then he has two pictures on the right. Dr. Kalish is here in San Francisco, and he's the naturopath that helped me use naturopathic herbs to get out of my depression. So I gifted him with this soul portrait. Look at the difference, the left and the right. The left is kind of like, I'm not sure I'd want to work with him. Look how handsome he is. Oh, so competent and handsome. You know, I want to show you that not everybody comes to me with like a bad picture. Jen on the left, I mean, that was her picture before. And I think that she was beautiful. Exquisite. But look at her on the right. Equally exquisite. Dr. Matthew Robinson, he's an ophthalmologist, and there's his, competent headshot. It's startling. I do this review process, so you get your hair and makeup done, and then we sit and we do an offering, like with flowers or incense or something, like some kind of thing to say, like, this is a sacred ritual. And then I line up the photo, and I start taking the picture, and people are like, oh, we're done, right? And then once I've gotten everything lined up photographically, then I put the camera aside, and I get out the tape recorder, and I do the reading. And the most profound thing that I experienced in Australia was I was reading Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God, and he was having a conversation with God. And I just burst into tears when I read it because I realized the fullness of my gift. which was given to me during a meditation. It came in as a whole full-on picture. I had been a photographer for 20 years. I had worked for Mayo Clinic, and we talked earlier about how I was a fitness instructor. Well, I was a wellness coach. I got hired away from Mayo Clinic by someone that was really famous to be his personal wellness coach. I didn't even bring my camera with me. I'm like, I'm done with photography. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. This is a year and a half ago. And one day I was meditating, and I had this vision, a full-on vision about alchemy and the golden state. And this vision was like, this is what you will do. You will combine a psychic reading of the person's soul with photography. And then there was a whole nother part of that vision. When I got it, it felt so overwhelming, it really took me a year to unpack it with Jeffrey and Suzanne. But what I get, and what I got when I was reading Neil Donald Walsh's book, is that God was describing the creation process, and God said to Neil, he said, this is how creation works. First, there's a visualization of what you want to create and what is being created. In the soul portrait process, the visualization is me seeing the greater part of you, the greater part of your energy that does not manifest in the physical form. And then God said the next part is the vision is made word. So when I am seeing it, I am then bringing it into the word and giving it to you. And then God said the next thing is that matter is created. And the matter is you, as you really are, in this physical form, this spiritual being having a human experience. That's the matter of it. And I realized that this whole soul portrait process was God looking at God's self. That it is God meeting God's self. And so I call it a process of remembering. When you see your soul portrait, you remember. Remember, you reconnect, you align energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You align with who you really are. You remember that God in you sees itself and experiences itself. I know that that is a huge frickin' claim, and I'm not responsible for it. So if God doesn't see God's self in your portrait, it's not my problem. I'm just saying. I can't make it happen. The thing is like, I am there with a camera, and I am holding that space. But in all of these cases, I would like look at the camera and I'd look at the person and I'd be like, that's not what I'm seeing. Like as a photographer, it just started to happen in Australia. Like I would look at the camera and I'd look at the person and I'd be like, how did that picture get on the camera? Because that's not what I'm seeing with my human eyes. Perfect. My human eyes are limited. Your ability to see yourself clearly, I guarantee it's limited. How willing are you to see yourself, as a manifestation of the divine? It is terrifying. People are like, what if I show up for the soul portrait and my soul is ugly? I'm like, well, I don't think God's ugly, but I mean, that's our deepest fear of being seen, right? We want to be seen, and yet we're afraid of what we're going to see. But don't you want to be the person that has the courage to see yourself so that you know what you're bringing into the world? Why wait? I want a soul portrait, so I'm going to start a training program to train people how to do soul portraits so I can get a multiplicity of soul portraits. Joanne McCall and I are part of this thing called the Mike Club, and I would see her image, the one on the left, and I'd be like, that's not who she is. That's just not who she is. And so finally, I'm like, we are doing a soul portrait. And when I saw this image, it was such a relief to me. I really also believe that on some level we're all looking for relief. And when you let go of the lead, you get the relief of just really connecting with who you are and letting go of all the BS in your mind that tells you that you're not perfect, that you're not beautiful. It's something that you have to be willing to show up ready to do. I can't do that for you. I really can't. I can show up for you. The camera will show up for you. My team will show up for you. But you have to be willing to show up for you and see yourself differently. And I love the media polisher. Like, I get this part of the media polisher, but this is the part I love about the media polisher. You know, because like underneath the cut diamond, it comes from the raw diamond. Like, you are all diamonds in the rough. Yeah, and you're just waiting to let loose, to let go of who you're not. Michelangelo looked at this big slab of marble that nobody else wanted, and he saw the David in it. That's how it is with me. Like, I see it in each and every one of you. And I see it in myself. And sometimes it's terrifying because you can't look at yourself in this way and not take action. It is a call to action, the Golden State Soul Portrait. It is a call for you to get real about what you're doing in your life and to change. It is not a pretty picture. Although you're gorgeous, so it's a gorgeous picture, but it's not a pretty picture. We talked about Christy Love, another Diamond Club member, today. Here's her before again. She's gorgeous. She's great. I mean, these are great shots. That's for you, Suzanne. But here's how she really wants to show up. Oh my God, it's such freedom. It is such a joy, and it is such a privilege to witness when people really step into it and say yes. It makes my job easy. It really does. There doesn't need to be a struggle about this. There really doesn't. You know in your heart if you want it. You know, that's the thing about not selling it, attraction, not promotion. If you really want to attract your divine market to you like a magnet, then you've just got to really put it out there who you are. And in that 20th of a second, people are going to decide whether they're your divine market because they're going to see you and they're going to know you because you have put yourself out there. You have opened your heart up for us to see. And what a gift that is, first to yourself. First and foremost, I would want you to see this as a gift to yourself. And second, as your gift to the world. How powerful is that? Okay, I am not kidding, Rebecca. This is the photo that she had on her website when she first started working with Suzanne and Jeffrey. And the name of her business is Unlock Your Love Blocks. Hide behind a tree and find your divine partner. But I want to give a little shout out to Rebecca because she worked with me in Australia, and I believe that it's a result of the work, the coaching that I did with Rebecca, that I was able to fall in love with Sage. And it was such a privilege working with her because look at her. Oh my gosh. When I'm behind the camera, sometimes I just start crying because it's so beautiful. It's such a privilege. When you drop your guard and you drop in, for me to witness that, I mean, I should be paying you. Really. Because it's like meeting with God in another person. And when the person really shows up, I feel it. Like I feel it in my body. I feel like this ka-chunk. And the person feels it. And then when you look at it, the magic of it is, do you feel it? Does anybody feel it? Can you feel it? Yeah. You feel who they are. Right? Like it's a visceral feeling of recognition. That's what I'm talking about. Neil Donald Walsh, God seeing God's self in you. And you feeling it. While I was in Australia, they asked me to do family soul portraits. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'll show up for it because I'll say yes, because that's my motto. You know, and I got to do readings for the kids and the family, and it was just beautiful. It was really beautiful to do it for a family. Okay, Sage. Oh, this is so juicy. So this, this is when I met Sage 6 months ago. This is how she was on the left. Beautiful. She came up and she's like, I just got my photo done, and I think my hair was a little dark, so I'm going to get it lightened, and I'd like you to do a soul portrait. And during the soul portrait, I was like, oh, my God. Be professional. I was like, oh, my God. Like, looking at her, she was so exquisite. And this is the first one I did of her. And then on my trip to Bali, I got to do another one. And I said to her, do you see the internationally recognized author? Do you see that in yourself? Do you see, like, the brilliance of who you are and what you're to bring onto the planet? And she prints them out 8 by 10, and she puts them up on her mirror. And when we talk, I say, what would she say? What does she want to do? What is she up to in the world? Like, that's where the answers are, right? Right there. It's something to grow into. It's something to live into, this process. So it's not just an end product. It's actually a transformative process. Okay, here's me. Yeah, woo! When I began. Here's one a year ago. And then here's me now. The thing is it's playful, and it's joyful, and it's blissful. When you are, like, really living into who you are, there's all the trauma and drama to get there. And then once you get there, it feels so good. Because you recognize that I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and I love the human experience. Trading lead for gold, trading the depression for play. I don't know what your lead is, but I kind of have a sense that you might be here to either recognize it, feel it, name it, claim it. But what is your gold? That's what soulistic growth is. I just made that up, soulistic growth. I like it though, right? That, like, on a cellular level, that you're going to know yourself differently as a result of saying yes to all the opportunities that you now have in your life to show up as who you really are. That's what this is all about. This is about all of us evolving together. Not just one of us, not just the people that show up in front of my lens, but whatever your process is, you're an alchemist. I'm just a visual alchemist. What kind of alchemist are you? Are you willing to put down the lead that you've been carrying around and tinker around in your life, in the chemistry lab of your life, so that you can be gold? I hope so. Because the world needs us. The world needs us to show up as who we really are right now. Not a year from now, like right now. Whatever your gift is, they need it. Someone, but not just one person, a multitude of people are waiting for you, like Lisa Bull said earlier, waiting for you to show up with your gift. What is it? Please show us. Tell us. Be with us in your golden state. It's the most inspiring thing you could ever do. It's not selfish. It's self-love. That's my wish for you. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Do I have 5 minutes? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think we have 5 minutes for questions. Yeah. I think we have 5 minutes for questions. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause. She's so brilliant.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I see someone in the back of the room. Yeah, I will put it up on YouTube. Yes, yes. Anybody else? Questions? Can you turn off the house lights a little, please? Thank you. Joyce, I see you.
I just want to say bravo. Bravo. I have known her since she and Jeffrey were college age. And have had just the wonderful opportunity of seeing the growth in her. Never for 1 minute have I ever doubted this moment. And the reason for that is the same reason that all of you are here, to exhibit the truth. And Sid, I want to thank you. I love you.
I love you. Thank you, Joyce. Right here in front. Yep.
I just want to say thank you for your courage. And I know the decision is right to become a Diamond member because I know you are my tribe in a way I've never known anybody else to be. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What a gift to yourself.
Yeah.
Right here. You can hand it right here. Lauren.
Hi.
Hi.
I really want to do this, and I'm wondering about, are you here in the Bay Area, or do you, like, if you're here in the Bay Area, do you do multiple soul portraits while you're here to cut down on travel expense, or how does that work?
Yeah, I can talk more about that in the back if anybody has individual questions. But I'm all over the place. I'm a flitty little, my mother calls me a feather on the breath of God, that I just go everywhere, yeah. Because my birth name was Heather, so she called me Heather Feather. I think we have time for one more question.
First off, awesome presentation. Thank you very much for that. I have a question, is that when you started your photography business, you started off at one price, but then there was a transformation process where you charge at a different price, which was substantially higher than where you started. And so can you describe that transformational process that led you to say, this is the time that I need to raise my rates, and I know I'm going to get the price that I'm worth?
Yes, thank you. That's a really great question. I'll just answer that really quickly by saying that I know that what I'm doing in the world is unique. It's of value. I trust my worth, and I know I'm trustworthy. And I know that I can only serve a certain amount of people, and I only want to serve the people that really want it. And I know that I have a niche market for that. And so Jeffrey and Suzanne and I really did a lot of coaching around the price, and it was really uncomfortable at first because I was used to down here. But what I really get is I'm not doing anybody a service giving it away. I'm not. And that it really is not just about the product. It is a transformational process. And so what I'm offering people is something that they can't get with another photographer. And so when you raise to the level of your greatness, then you're in a different market. And that's how that came to be. But that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.